Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of LEGO Arts. So, in our last episode, we did a showcase on Studio Ghibli, a project I've pushed back for quite a while, and finally completed it. So, this episode's kind of an odd one. We're not really doing a showcase of any particular topic. This is sort of a showcase covering on like some minifigures for showcases that were supposed to happen, but then were pushed back a bit more. So as you can see, we have 5 minifigures from completely different topics. We have Lloyd from Ninjago, Saber from Fate, from the Fate series, Chelsea from Akame ga Kill, a new upgraded Miss Chalice. This one was actually something that I recently did, and as well as Ryuk from Death Note. So oftentimes when I work on projects, I would get like these ideas that like showcases that I want to do, but sometimes like when I push them back or don't even get around to them, eventually it comes to a point where I just stop working on it entirely. Like months ago last year, I had ideas to do a showcase on the anime Kill la Kill, and I even got started on working on the base for the 2 minifigures I was making, but then I stopped working on them. And it came to a point that I kept pushing them off more and more, all the way to the point where I just lost interest altogether. And these minifigures were even supposed to be part of like showcases for a much bigger one, not for like bigger showcases. But then again, I kept pushing them back off, and eventually it came to a point where like I lost interest in doing the whole showcase together, but still wanted to do these particular minifigures. And 2 of them were actually characters from like earlier back in the day, which I'll explain as we go further. So, as you guys know the whole drill, we're going to take these minifigures one at a time, do reviewing them, explain my process, why I went with this route, and then go from there. So, without further ado, let's get the pedestal out and get the showcase on the road. So to start this small group of minifigs is Lloyd from LEGO Ninjago, and this was from like the early days back when I was customizing. Like, pretty much, when I was starting on decals, like, you could clearly tell, with this, especially the legs. Man, this is such a blast from the past when I look at this figure. So if we look at the figure, like, what I was trying to do back then was sort of, like, create my own Ninjago outfits. Like, I was inspired by seeing this picture that somebody made, and it made, like, these alternate outfits of the ninja, and I wanted to make, like, my own green ninja one. So, when looking at this is so odd, it's very odd of looking back at this. Like, you can see with the torso is a bit strange. I actually did this in separate components. Like, I first did the torso, and then, like, you can see that this symbol here was cut out completely. It's kind of hard to tell, but I was actually, with his symbol, it's actually a mix between, like his light and darkness. So, the idea of the figure, if I recall correctly, the idea of this was sort of like a combination for Lloyd on the previous forms he's been in. And with this mask piece, was definitely from, I think, either just starting in the Possession arc, or maybe it was starting to go to Skybound. I can't exactly remember. It's been a very, very long time since I've seen Ninjago. In fact, I stopped watching it after Data departed, but that's another story for another day. Anyways, with the general design of the figure, here, you can see that I painted on, like 2 separate greens, got like the Dark Forest green and then this light minty green. The symbol that I glued on here is from Jungle Fury. I just thought it looked cool at the time, so I wanted to put that on. Oh dear. I think I gave him one of the knockoff heads because knockoff heads that I got from a set online, because it was something I was using for. Like, you could see, like, it matches up with the first Lloyd head when they did Rise of the Snakes. So you can see, like, the slight alterations with the printing. And then, like, we got this shoulder, like, guard piece holding, like, a couple of katana blades. Realistically, they're just really there for show. Can I remove this? If I can't, okay, I can. I just need a little force. You can see, like, some alternative detailing on here. There is some symbols on the back, but I honestly can't really see them so well. But you can see, like, some more, like, gold and then, like, these dark green pieces. Like, when I was going back, like I'm mentioning, like, light and dark, the idea of this was supposed to be, like, a combination of Lloyd's powers. So the gold, you can see would represent more on the gold ninja side, and then these dark green pieces here represent more of the darker side. Like, hang on, let me get this in position. Like, you could see would represent more of the ghost ninja. I call this the ghost ninja because I think it sounds more cool. Which, a quick idea about that, that's an idea that I had for ghost ninja was to modify this mask piece itself to make it more accurate on the show of how, like, this bottom part here stays with the whole piece, because the whole piece itself is really, really cool, but I think it'd be really, really amazing to find a way to have this piece be removable and then the rest of this piece stay on with that. But we're getting off topic on that one. With the rest of this figure, you can tell that this was back before I finally found a method to the legs. Like, I don't even remember what this was from in the first place, but this poorly chipped off green paint, and paint just looks awful. And the decals are squished right where the legs would move, so I can't even move them, and then, like, the rest of this, like, detailing that I was putting on here was, like, my own ideas. You can't really see it so well, but on the green on the back behind this symbol, actually, we get a better look on here. This green here, you can see, like, these white dots. It was supposed to be a reference to Lloyd's first Green Ninja outfit. Outfits, like, again, I was trying to, like, combine multiple ones together. I will say, I do like this idea of the yin-yang, of, like, a gold yin-yang on this side, but I think I could have done better with this. And then these green Sai were honestly just, like, some weapons that I had, and I thought that, like, I think Sai would look pretty cool. That's a pretty cool idea. Yeah, so let's go ahead and put this back on. And this was originally supposed to be part of, like, more ninjas, and just, like, my own ideas on like, Ninjago outfits, but again, at the time, I lost interest in completely and just pushed that off. So in general, I don't know if I'll ever go back to this. I maybe just keep this around, a sort of a reminder of the skills that I've done back then, and how much I've improved since then. So let's go ahead and move on to a more present day minifigure. So next up on our list is Chalice from Akame ga Kill. I did this minifigure as intention of doing more on Akame ga Kill. If you don't know what it is, it's basically one of those shows you can't really have a favorite character because literally everyone dies. I won't dive too deeply into it, but let's just say if you're interested in seeing that anime, you best prepare yourself. Anyways, so with this minifigure, I did this around when I was during that phase of sort of anime custom minifigure ideas, because anime in general is very complex with the hairstyles and outfit designs. I did those on practice, expanding more on practice on doing decals and even sculpting on with hair pieces. I think I talked a little bit about that when I did Ruby Volume 7. And this was sort of a similar thing of what I was doing. So as you can see with the arms, they're very simple. They're simple, just plain white and sleeves. Sorry, and adding in a little bit of printing and not printing, some paint detailing on the wrist part of the arms. And the back is solely blank as intended to be, and to be the front and torso, as you can see, is is the same decal. The same female decal that I've been using for quite a while. Just redesigned it to match up with her outfit. There's a little bit of detail, a little bit of paint work. You can kind of see the paint on here. I was trying to prepare that for sort of the plaid pattern Chalice has on the show in manga. So looking at the rest of the character, her face decal was actually something that I was working on the same time when I did the upgraded version on Captain America. I have this one minifigure, and the facial expression on it, I just felt was so perfect to this character's sort of usual expression that I wanted to use it. However, I couldn't repaint the eyes or do this. If you're wondering what this is supposed to be a lollipop that she constantly has in her mouth. I was trying to like replicate that, but it was so small I couldn't do it. So what I did was I took a picture of that head, cropped it out, redrew all over it, redrew and recolored it, and turned it into a face decal. Printed off, and then put it onto the figure, which worked out pretty well. And then with the skirts, it was like during the early times when I was still experimenting with skirts, and my method was cut a long piece of fabric and glue it onto the waist piece. Now I have some new ideas, but it's nice to go back every now and then to see these things. If you're wondering what this is supposed to be like her weapon. It would be like her weapon. I think it's called Gaia Foundation. Yeah, Gaia Foundation, and this is supposed to represent like one of the like little accessories that she has in here. I will admit this does kind of look weird, and a little bit small, but that was like the overall intention when doing this. And this, I think there's some articulation, not too much, so we won't touch more on that. And then the hairpiece was definitely something I think I really played around with. It's the same one that, the general base of it is the same one that I used for my Alice Angel minifigures, but I sculpted on like these headphones onto the one side, and this pink ribbon I glued on here. I've had to repair this thing so many times, so much so to the point that I just took it off my desk, and put it on a shelf somewhere just to keep it from like falling off. And then like these bangs up here, I carefully sculpted them out one at a time, and carefully glued them on to the front of the hairpiece, and positioned them in a way for where they'd look, and for where it actually look natural. Like if this whole thing was a sculpted build, it definitely could pass off for one. And overall, that's like the general idea. So again, A Comic Got Killed was supposed to be like a larger expansion on minifigures. I especially like wanted to do like characters like Incurcio and Grand Chariot on like trying to sculpt out those armors. But again, I just pushed them back so long to the point that I just lost interest in the whole idea all over together. So maybe I'll go back there one day if I find the inspirations to go back there. But until then, this is like the general idea of A Comic Got Killed. Going to our more present day showcases, we have Saber from Fate Stay by Night Unlimited Blade Works. Yes, that is a mouthful of a title, but I recently got into the Fate series, that is pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. I really like the idea of like warriors traveling through time to fight in this Holy Grail war. It reminds me very much on the Keyblade War in Kingdom Hearts. Alright, so the idea is very cool. And Fate is sort of like in a flux. Of what I feel like it is, that like the idea of Lego, of these characters in Lego format is cool, but it's still like up in the air of whether or not to fully proceed through it. So I figured I'd start out with just with one minifigure, and maybe later on the line go back and like do some more characters. But anyways, for Saber, it definitely required. I definitely experimented on like some new methods. Like I think I had the skirts originally supposed to be like this bottom part of the dress was supposed to be like removable, but when I painted the whole thing, it merged together, so I can't remove it, but that's okay. The face is like the same face decal that I used for Blake. Like I just recolored the eyes and the eyebrows. I think I made this joke in the last episode, but this is starting to turn into like a default face that I've been using lately. The hairpiece is actually like an original like Lego piece. Well, not in general, but the base of it was from like back in their early days when they were like doing this original design on like ponytails. I chose to go with this because it matches up with Saber's like general hairstyle. I just cut off the ponytail, resculpted it on with the bun, and I tried to sculpt the braid out. Unfortunately, the clay that I used for this wasn't really that good on like that minor like sculpting detail. In fact, I've been thinking about on switching to a new clay, like something that's easy to sculpt out, but when it dries, it's very hard. And also something that's not oven baked because these figures are gonna get set on fire. on fire. Anyways, you can see like this strand and this one strand of hair like on the top. I expanded a little bit more on the sideburns, and overall that became like the general hair idea. Oh, also I forgot this ribbon on the back. This was actually a last minute addition because I completely forgot about it. The armor back here, you can see like sort of this was done in like multiple pieces. So we got like the first piece, and then there's like second piece, and then on the front I tried to expand out the chest plate a little bit more, but I couldn't get like a good photo to show of like all sides of it. So I was just working on like what I got, and I also tried to do the detailing as best I could. You can clearly tell it's not as beautiful as it could have been, and that's okay because this small detailing is so tedious. On the arms, she's got like the armor gauntlets and these puffed out shoulder pads. Shoulder pads here. This was actually something I thought about doing for Leafa from Sword Art Online, but as I said back then, I had no idea how those would have come out, so I didn't do them at the time. But seeing of how they look on this figure, and they actually worked pretty well. I might go back and actually add those additions on. As you can see, like the armor continues on over here, same thing on down here, on more on the dress. There was originally supposed to be more detailing on this arm, but again, there is just a small amount of room that I can work with when it comes to these figures. So I had to like make a few compromises here and there. Minor detailing on the back, not really a whole lot, and then on the front, more detailing here. Like you can see like this white parts as well as the like yellow detailing that I put around the figure. And then one of my favorite pieces is Excalibur. This sword really came out good. I think it's mostly because I used an original sword, these generals. Like the base of the sword came out normally. It was from like this bag of like custom weapons that I bought a while back. And I had a few extra swords, so I took one of these swords and modified the hilt, like the hilt of the blade, and then painted it in gold, and then took this metallic blue and painted on the handle, and then this little detailing on like the hilt of the sword, or maybe this is the guard piece. Yeah, I'm gonna go with guard piece. And overall that came out like the general idea for Saber, and you can actually see that there is some articulation here, but because of like the amount of paints that I put on the waist piece, as well as slightly pushing through the clay, it does tend to slow down the movements, but there is some articulation there that I really like it. So I really like how Saber came out. So this was actually a pretty cool build to do, and definitely showed off with like one of my favorite swords that I've done. Like, it's not as crazy as like the stuff that I did in Devil May Cry, but overall the general idea of it is really, really well done. And who knows, maybe in the future, if I get that inspiration, I might go back and do the rest of Fate's Day by Night. Next up on our list is Miss Chalice from Cuphead. This was actually a last-minute addition because honestly, Cuphead was sort of like one of my last things to go back to. But one of the comments from that video that really struck out was the way how the heads were molded. And I already did it on Cuphead and Mugman, but Miss Chalice, at first I was fine with, but looking back at it more and more, I realized that like, oh my god, I need to improve on this. So while I'm doing this idea, how about I actually take some time and go back and fix this. So the general idea of the body is basically the same one, is the same design that I used for my Kingdom Hearts versions of Cuphead and Mugman. I decided to keep that trend going, and I kind of like it. I kind of like sort of like matching that up with the rest, with like the two brothers. I'll get them out in a little bit. But as you can see, like looking at this, I did like the same detailing pattern. And on the back, so we got like the hood, these two grays moving around the body, and moving over here, and then like this detailing like on the front of it, on the front of the jacket, you can see like these little gold these like gold chain pieces, some gold buttons, the zipper, and then like a little bit detailing on like this belt buckle, on the and going down to the legs, I repainted this in a new blue. Added in this gray like wrapping around here, in here, and then with the shoes, repainted those as well, and redetailed them, and sell them. And same thing with the arms. I gave them like a new fresh coat of black paint, and I paint on like both of them, and then because I felt like that this needed an update. The sleeves are like the blue matching up with the jacket, and then like this yellow outline with them. And then the head is definitely an improvement. It's definitely an improvement. Like, if you do a compare and contrast with this head, the face I'm fine with, and the nose was okay, but the sculpting of how this came out wasn't really so good. I'll admit, it's not so good. Not good. This one is a slight improvement on this. Granted, I will admit that I think I did the nose a bit too big. Unfortunately, and I did not realize that until I had finished the whole figure itself and looking back and realizing that I might have done goofed. And then this is in a different gold. You can kind of see that, like, in a different yellow. You can kind of see that, like, the two sort of blend in together. I was trying to replicate, like, this yellow, like, on like, the outsides of the cup and the handles, but I could not find that yellow. I couldn't find that yellow paint. I don't even know if I did mix the colors. I don't even remember, like, which sort of combination that I might have used. So that was sort of an unfortunate one. And on the inside, you can see that, like I tried to, like, mold out the inside of the cup. And overall, this is a much nicer improvement from the last one. I think it's definitely much better than how the first one came out. Like, again, I could have fixed that nose, but overall, the idea. And when looking at it, she kind of looks good. Like, when you have, like, Cuphead and Mugman here, and here, this really looks sort of like a full sets together. Like, I think if these three like wore these outfits and like an art style or something, I think it looked pretty cool. And cool of, like, seeing them, like, go off together. And quick check back with these heads. These heads for these guys are much better than the original ones. And now I don't have to keep them anymore. Because with these new ones, I can finally get rid of them. All right, so we can now wrap up with our final minifigure that's coming up. And last on our list is the Shinigami Ryu from Death Note. And don't even ask what the hell was going through my mind when making this thing. So, admittedly, this was actually like the last build that I made recently, that Death Note was sort of a topic that was with Fate, was floating around in my mind quite a lot. But when seeing, like, some other custom figures of, like, Ryuk in particular, I wanted to sort of, like, do my own take of how Ryuk would sort of look in my own weird art style when it comes to custom Legos. And the results of it were stuck in the borderline between okay and what have I made. Like, this goes on the category of weird figures that I've built, and he can't even stand normally. That's why I'm using my old method of showcasing each of the figures with them. So when looking at this character, one of the first things that I did was sort of figuring out, like, how to make this character. I finally settled on doing, like, the same sort of style that I did on Ink Bendy from Bendy and the Ink Machine. I'm sort of, like, taking a skeleton minifigure, modifying a bit with the arms and the legs, and I even did the torso a bit to match up with Ryuk. Because if you've watched Death Note, we're going with the anime version, not the movie. I've never seen the movie, but I don't want to. I don't want to see it. But with that character, he's very Skeletor-like. Like, you don't see his ribs, but he's very, like, skinny and sort of like frail. Sort of to give off that sort of, like, creepy, maybe, like, sort of like Grim Reaper kind of impression that he would give off. So what I did was something like that like, I cut the limbs and sort of expanded them out with some clay. And same thing with the feet. I bended that because it was sort of to give the idea that, like, most of the time when seeing Ryu, he's very much like this, of how he, like, sort of, like, leans over a bit and sort of, like, watches around. He's got an apple here to represent, like, his love for apples. And this was originally supposed to be, like, I'd be able to, like, position him on the ground and he'd stay up. Unfortunately, this clay was not so good. In fact, he kept, like, falling back and falling over and the feet don't even match up with each other. They do not. So, like, if I position him normally, he'd be looking sideways. And I tried to reinforce these things with a wire, but the wire wasn't strong enough. In fact, I think it made it worse instead. So the legs are definitely something that I would need to sort of like refix in the future. The headpiece I don't mind too much because this is like one of the original like classic skeleton heads that they used to use. I just painted in like his yellow eyes with the red, with like that red iris, and then sculpted out like his spiky hair on the back too. Like the torso, as I mentioned, I filled up the ribs with clay. The clay then painted the whole thing black, added in like this detailing on the front. And then like you can also see like, speaking of detailing, you can see like some fabric that actually wraps around the character. And these pieces of string represent like the silver chain pieces that he has on here. So like you can see the chain goes from here and it goes from here as well. A little bit of paint detailing to represent like his rings and his bracelet. And then like on the back we could continue, like on this side you could see that he's holding his death note. Death note's like pocketed here. I know it's tiny, but if I had used a regular book, this would have looked massive. It would have been a terrible idea. And then like you can see like some paints got chipped off here, and that was because when trying to put the apple on, it was very difficult. So I painted on like his little ring as well, and just carefully like added that in as well. And also one thing that I wanted to do, like if we remove this here, looking at the wings, I think I showcased these wings like back when I did Castiel from Supernatural. Set Ryuk off to the side for now. And now you can see like it's got the classic Lego like transparent piece that I actually sanded a bit. I tried to make this base piece like smaller and more skinny to make it easier on like, so that way to make it easier to fit it on the neck piece. And piece connected the whole thing together. And to also give the idea that like since Ryuk doesn't generally like have his wings open constantly, I wanted to give that idea that like he can like retract them and like walk around normally. And looking at the rest of the figure, the shoulder pad piece was definitely something that I sanded, that I tried to sand that as well, but the sanding came out super weird. Like you could see the inside of the piece, and you could see like the small like little sort of lip in between like the front and back of this thing, and it just makes it look kind of odd of how that goes. And real quick on the sides, not really a whole lot of like more work on the back, but you can like see the rib cage, the spine. What the hell am I thinking? And like when we put this back on, it's a little bit more loose than without it. But with like the full set together, it stays on pretty tight. And this is actually like a good idea that I did. I was originally gonna like try to sculpt out his his furry shoulder pads, but then when I saw this piece from a skeleton fig, I realized that like, oh, I could just do this. This will be so much better than what my brain was trying to come up with. And it was. So when looking back at this, I'm okay with the torso. I like the idea of doing Ryuk like this. I do like the idea of it because it matches up with more of like his Shinigami appearance in the anime and the manga. But the legs could have come out so much better. And maybe even the arms. I could have like done something different with the arms. But again, if I had a much stronger clay for those legs and something much a stronger reinforcement to keep the whole thing stabilized, this could have come out amazing. So Ryuk is definitely a character to go back to in the future. On like when it comes to sculpting out with like some new clay. I'll be looking into like some something that's stronger and can definitely work. But the overall basic idea on like this design of Ryuk, I really like, because again, it matches up with his like Shinigami appearance much more, and with like some new legs and even some new arms, this could definitely pull off as a really cool custom. So overall, that's gonna do it for this episode of LEGO Arts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this was sort of an odd showcase that I did of sort of like just taking minifigures from like for like different ideas and sort of like merging them together. And I think the last time I did something like this was sort of like armored DC characters. Yeah, armored DC characters and then like CW minifigures. Figures, which on the topic of those things, real quick, the armored DC I might go back to, but CW, however, I'm not going back to CW. I don't care anymore. I talked about it in Crisis of Infinite Earths. I'm completely done with it. I don't ever want to go back. But anyways, with the rest of these characters, again, they were supposed to be part of like larger, bigger showcases, but since I commissioned those ideas back off, eventually it came to a point that I just didn't really feel like continuing on with them. But I did have enough motivation to finish at least one character from each of them. But with characters from like Fate Stay by Night and Akame ga Kill, if I get that inspirations to do those characters, especially characters like Archer, Incurcio, Grand Chariot, I might go back and do those guys. But overall, in general, this is gonna be putting to an end. Of like these particular characters, except for Ryuk. Ryuk is definitely on the list of upgrades, right? Because I want to give him new legs. I need to do it. Because I want the figure to stand. But anyways, this is episode 99 on the series. The next one is officially going to be the 100th, and it is going to be coming out very, very soon. Very soon. I finished all the characters. We're all set and ready to go. I'm still not going to say what it is, but it is definitely something that I feel is definitely a part of this series. The series that I wanted to re-honor, and I can't think of any better way to do it than the 100th. So I'm going to leave it at that. And yeah, we're going to call it a good day. So if you guys actually want to see like more characters on Fate, Akame, maybe even Death Note, let me know in the comments below so I can prepare for future showcases in the future. And overall, that's gonna call it good. So if you guys would like to see more videos like this in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. It really helps us work on those like products. I'm mainly here to have some fun. So anywho, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button, comment below what you think, share it to your friends, subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Twitch. And here's how on the road. Woo! Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. What do you guys, moon rises?